welcome back to Series World, and you are back with Sarai. We're gonna get straight into this video. This is a part 2 from the last video. Go check it out if you haven't already. I am saying 20 things that I have learned at the age of 20. And I did the first 10 things that I've learned in the first video. Now I'm doing the last 10. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment if you please. I would love to see you again in my next video. Number 11. Everybody is not your friend. It's important that you surround yourself around people who have a positive impact on you. And it's also important that you understand the difference between a friend and an associate, or a friend and a coworker, a friend and a business partner. Everyone is not going to play the same role in your life. Some friends are meant to just have fun with, and that's okay. Some friends are meant to create things with. Some friends you're meant to see all the time, and some friends you're just not. Some friends you're meant to talk to here and there, and you don't have to force everybody to play the same role, but understand roles and also understand your own boundaries and your own morals, because it gets to a point where you might start to feel, okay, this is a friend that I can go out with, have fun with, but do I really want a friend that I can only do that with? What if I want a friend that I can go out with, but also share my secrets with, but also feel empowered with and feel supported by? You get to choose what type of friend you want in your life, and that may be something that you have to think about. But all in all, everybody is not your friend, and you shouldn't feel drained by your friends. I feel like in my life, there were so many things that I just let slide from people that I called my friends who weren't really treating me like a real friend. And it wasn't until I was around the right people that I realized that past people in my life that didn't make me feel good were not my friends. Another thing, if you and your friend are constantly arguing, that's not healthy. You have to kind of, it's hard when you didn't grow up seeing it a lot, and that goes for whether it's a friend or a lover. It's kind of hard sometimes to know the difference between what's healthy and what's not. But if you are constantly arguing with your friend, it may just be a sign that it's not meant to work out. Just don't ignore red flags. Red flags can be in anybody. And honestly, it's okay to let people go. Sometimes growing up involves having to let people go. It's okay to outgrow people. Sometimes people are just meant to stay for a season, and that's okay. Another thing, there is a difference between making a joke and hiding an insult through a joke. I feel like growing up, I had a good amount of people I called my friends that were constantly belittling me. And it got to a point where I started to realize that I was feeling it, because I thought that we were just joking and it was just humor. And growing up, I was made to feel that I was sensitive and that I overreacted. But then I learned that, again, there is a clear difference, because even to this day, I still have friends that I can joke with. We might be like, oh, your head is so big, you have such a big head, stuff like that. But if somebody is constantly making you feel belittled about your appearance, that's when it becomes a problem. And especially when it becomes this thing of it almost feeling like someone trying to embarrass you or humble you. You shouldn't have friends like that. You want to have friends who are making you feel beautiful, friends who are making you feel talented, friends who remind you of who you are, friends who are watering your seeds, not pulling your petals off. If you feel like you have a friend that's plucking your petals instead of helping your flower grow, then they're probably not worth being in your life. But again, it's up to you to decide that, which goes into self-respect. You have to have enough respect for yourself to know what you deserve and what kind of person you deserve to be next to. Or even what kind of person deserves to have access to you. These are all things that you have to sit with yourself about, because the type of people that we allow in our lives, and sometimes the situations that we're in with other people, are also a reflection of us and what we put up with, and also the way that we treat ourselves. So you might have to do some inner work to really figure that out. That said, toxic happiness is not confidence. Oftentimes, people mask their insecurities through being confident, We think that if we tell ourselves what we want to hear, if we tell ourselves who we want to be, that eventually we're going to believe it. And to an extent, that's true, because I even said in my last video, words are very powerful. The more positivity you speak about yourself and about just things in general, the more positivity you put out, the more you will receive. That's definitely true. But a mask is a mask. There's a saying, fake it till you make it. And I don't believe that. Why are we faking it? That's not real. You think that the longer that you pretend to be somebody, the closer you will be to becoming that. If I pretend to be sober when I'm drunk, will I become sober? That's not how it works. There definitely is an impact that we can have on ourselves by visualizing. That even helps with mental health. If you're sad, if you get in the shower and you imagine your sadness going down the drain, all of that has an impact on you. So I definitely believe that visualizing who you want to be helps, because there's even this thing that people say where if you don't have money, if you just imagine money coming in, that can also have an impact. But that's a bit off topic. When we pretend that things are okay when they're not really okay, it can make things worse. That happens with mental health, that happens with relationships, that happens with a lot of things. If you pretend that things are okay when they're not, it doesn't change the fact that things are not okay. Even looking at the world, if we pretend that our world is a great place when it obviously is not, who are you fooling? Just yourself. Because there's still people dying in the world, there's still people starving of hunger, and you pretending that it's not happening doesn't change the fact that it's happening. And it's the same with yourself, especially when your insecurities come from something specific, whether it's trauma, whether it's a situation, whatever it is. You have to address the situation for it to get better. And until you sit with yourself and you really dive into where this insecurity came from, why do you feel this way, what are you doing, what habits do you have that are causing you to be insecure, it's never going to go away. So instead of faking it, you need to address the problem. You are insecure. You're insecure. It's the same with any other issue. You have a drug problem. You have a drinking problem. You don't get enough sleep. You are lazy. You're not doing your homework when you need to do. You procrastinate. You have to hold yourself accountable for there to be any growth. Because the longer you ignore it, the longer that it will continue. And especially when you fake it, it's essentially like, imagine if there's a hole in the wall and you just put a picture frame over it. A picture over it. The hole didn't disappear. You have to address it. You have to sit with yourself. You have to do the work to figure out, okay, why am I feeling this way? And it's hard, it's difficult, and it's scary even. It is scary. But I say this from experience that when I started to sit with myself and figure out why I was so insecure about certain things, when I was able to sit with myself and admit to myself that I was insecure, it did help me a lot, because I used to be that person who would try to convince myself that I wasn't. I was just having a bad day. I'm just having a bad thought, which that's valid. Being able to acknowledge that you may just be having a bad day, a bad thought, a bad feeling, whatever. But you have to also acknowledge the bigger issue, especially if it's repetitive. If you have a consistent feeling, whether it's maybe your hair, your nose, your body, whatever, if you have this consistent feeling that makes you just not look at yourself in a positive way, you have to address it and figure out, okay, why? What am I doing that's causing me to feel this way? Or what did I go through? What happened for me to feel this way about myself? And you can honestly just pick it apart. Honestly, simply just saying I am insecure will help you. It will help you figure out what the next step you need to do is. And one thing I do want to say that might be helpful to people, because there's so many different things you can be insecure about. But what I want to say, I feel like a lot of times when we're insecure, it's because we're comparing ourselves to somebody else, whether that came from us or that came from somebody else comparing us. I don't think I said this in my last video, But one thing I started telling myself that really helped me was, if you can see the beauty within other people, why can't you see the beauty within yourself? We see people who look so different from each other, and we're still able to see the beauty within all of them. But when we look at ourselves and we see that we're different than others, we start to critique ourselves. Why is that? We see the beauty within the sun and within the moon. Two different things. The sun and the moon look completely different, but we love the side of both. We love the side of the galaxy, but we also love the side of flowers. Two completely different things from each other, but we see the beauty within both of those things, but we can't see the beauty within ourselves and the girls or the boys that we're seeing on social media. Why is that? That's a mindset that I started to develop that personally helped me with my confidence. For anyone who's insecure outside of their physicality, maybe you're insecure about your skills, maybe you're insecure about your brain, maybe you feel like you're not smart enough, maybe you feel like you're not talented enough. It's kind of the same concept. Honestly, I think you just have to have a lot of grace with yourself and remind yourself that you're human. You're a human being. You were literally born to just breathe air and eat fruit off of trees. So anytime you start to feel insecure, just remind yourself that that's your purpose. Everything else that you're capable of doing is your own unique talent. You cannot become the person you want to be until you accept who you are. When we're talking about insecurities and trying to gain confidence, just like what I said, you have to acknowledge those insecurities in order to move on to the next step. So you have to accept who you are. You have to accept whether you're insecure. You have to accept whether you look different or you act different than other people. And you can't gain confidence until you appreciate who you are now. You can't change yourself until you appreciate who you are now, or again, accept it. So in the same context, I think it's funny how I feel like a lot of older people or a lot of people who step into their adulthood often end up doing things that they did as a child. I know for me, whether it's the music that I'm listening to, whether it's hobbies of mine, passions of mine, anything, there's a lot of things about myself that I did as a child that I was made to feel bad about. So listening to pop music, I used to be told as a young girl that listening to someone like Halsey was white girl music. One thing I used to do, I used to make puppets. I used to balance books on my head for a long time. The longest time I ever balanced a book on my head was almost 2 hours. So I literally used to walk around in stores with a book on my head. I'd go into a library, I'd go into a cafe, and I remember actually when I was in a cafe, somebody told me, "Hey, do you do that often?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I was literally just casually balancing this book on my head. And the lady, she goes, "Have you ever thought about timing yourself?" And so then after that, I started timing myself. I'd be at school, I'd be in the car, and a lot of people probably thought I was a weirdo. Even though I was a little girl, I was like 11, and balancing this book on my head. And people just treated me like I was so weird and so odd. But I look back at that, and I honestly want to start again. I think that's the coolest thing ever. Imagine just seeing somebody casually balance a book on their head, walking around the entire store. Can you do that for almost 2 hours? When you get older, you realize that a lot of the things that you were made to feel bad about were actually pretty cool. Or that's just who you were. When I was younger, I grew up being told that I was very sensitive. And to this day, obviously I've matured, but at the same time, that sensitivity is still within me. And I had to come to a point in which I realized that it's never going to leave me. My kindness is never going to leave me. My innocence is never going to leave me. It's certain things about myself that have always stayed. And I wanted to so bad take that away from myself, because people made me feel like if I took it away from myself, maybe they would stop judging me. But that's not how it works, because who you are is who you are. You can't get rid of that. You have to accept who you are and just allow yourself to be confident in you. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to take away who you are to fit in. You have to learn to not dim yourself down. just because you're different than other people, just because you have different interests. Maybe you talk different, maybe you walk different, maybe you just have certain things you go through that makes you different than people. The next thing I want to talk about is don't stay places longer than you need to. I was talking about this with knowing the difference between a friend and an associate. If somebody is not making you feel good about yourself, if somebody's not showing up the way you need them to, don't feel like you have to stay in that person's life. And I think a big thing is time. I know for me, there were certain people who I allowed to stay longer than they needed to because of how long they had already been my friend, because of time. You might be friends with somebody for years and think, okay, I'm not going to just put these years down the drain. But again, you're allowed to outgrow people. And also, you don't only outgrow people. You can outgrow environments. You can outgrow jobs. Don't stay anywhere longer than you need to. Whether it's a job, whether it's a city, that's something that I even still have to hold myself accountable with and remind myself. Sometimes we do it because we're scared or because we feel like we have to. And you will know, you will make so many excuses to convince yourself that it's okay. But deep down inside, you will know when something is not for you, and you have to listen to that. Everybody is figuring things out. When you become an adult, you realize that nobody has their together, okay? I feel like that's a big thing that I've been learning this year, because I've talked to so many other people in my age group, the early 20s, who are just figuring out their life, and it's always the same thing. It's so funny because the conversation will start out with, oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm cool, I'm good. And then it always goes, how are you really? Girl. Okay, you're like, and I feel like that's another thing, honestly. We need to keep it more real with each other. Because so many times people ask, how are you? And it's so superficial because nobody's actually looking for a real response. You realize the older you get, you will always be figuring things out. Even when you come to a place where you feel secure, it's always going to be something new for you to figure out. Whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. So if you're a young person watching this and you feel behind because you still, y'all, sorry, I have like something in my throat. But if you're a young person watching this because you're still figuring things out and you're confused about your next steps, know that that is normal and it makes sense and it's valid. Don't feel embarrassed about that. I feel like some people really do make you feel embarrassed if you're still figuring things out, especially older people. I was just talking about this with somebody, how older people so many times will ask you, okay, what do you have going on? And if you don't say what they want to hear or what they think you're supposed to do, even if they don't say it to your face, you feel this energy of, okay. You're not, bro, it's so, it's annoying. And I feel like I definitely have an automatic response that I give people when they ask me, because you don't, first of all, you don't need to know everything I got going on. But also, because of the fact that people can be so judgmental. So, I'm telling you, forget these people's opinions, bro. I said this the first video. Forget these people's opinions. If you are still figuring out your path, know that that's okay. I don't care if you're 16. I don't care if you're 19. I don't care if you're 25. I don't care if you're 33. I don't care if you're 47. If you are figuring out your life, know that that is okay. It's okay to start over. It's okay to start over. It's okay to hit a bump and fall on your back and struggle to get up for a little bit. Another thing that you will learn when you step into your adulthood is that everybody has something going on. Everybody has stress. Everybody has issues. I don't care if you're seeing these people on a yacht at 19, making six figures, whatever. They have their own issues. They have their own stress that they deal with. Everybody has stress. Everybody has insecurities. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is happy every single day. Like, I honestly am so tired of, again, and that's, I should have said this already. When I say toxic happiness, I'm talking about when people make it seem like happiness is supposed to be something you experience every day. That's very toxic to me. I feel like people try to make it seem as if all the other emotions are negative, but happiness is positive, and that's not how it works. Because we have all these emotions for a reason, and it makes up who we are. And it's not realistic to expect to be happy every single day. It's not realistic to expect to be confident every single day. But what the difference between a secure person and an insecure person is that a secure person is okay with that. An insecure person is not. A secure person does not let their sad moments and their insecure moments define them. That's how I see a confident person. Hey y'all, just letting y'all know now, I just came back from going out because as I was filming this, I had a meeting coming up and then I hung out with a friend. So I look different and it's no longer light outside, it's dark outside now. Letting y'all know now. Okay, let's get back into the video. A secure person is someone who understands that their thoughts do not define them, their experiences do not define them, other people's opinions do not define them. I think that social media has a really big impact on how we perceive each other's lives and contributes to why there's so many expectations that we may have for ourselves that we may not always meet up to, and then we belittle ourselves because of that. I think that that is especially true for young people, for I'd say people between the age of 18 to their early 20s, or even people as young as 16 or as old as their 20s period. I feel like people within that range especially are made to have this pressure on them about how they're supposed to live their life. Please understand that nobody's life is perfect. I don't care what you're seeing on social media. Nobody's life is perfect. And you have to also just remember that privilege goes into a lot of things. Some people, yes, are born into wealthy families. Some people are born into fame. Some people are just born into certain lifestyles. And you comparing yourself to somebody who was in a completely different environment, completely different situation than you, doesn't make any sense. That's like comparing apples to oranges. And that doesn't mean that apples is any less than oranges or that oranges is any less than apples. It just simply means that they're two different fruits that don't need to be compared to each other because they're different. It's really easy to make assumptions when you're not living the life that somebody else is living, when you're not walking in their shoes. And that's why you have to show love to everybody. You have to be respectful to everybody because you never know what people are dealing with. That's why you need to check on the people you care about. You need to be there for them because you truly never know what anyone is dealing with. That goes back into my first video where I said learn how to validate yourself and others, because you have your own problems, and with understanding that everyone has their own problems, you shouldn't use that as an excuse to ignore your own stress. However, you do have to just remember that when it comes to, you are not bigger than the program. You are not bigger than the millions of people that live in this world. So just understand that there are people who will always have it worse than what you have. It's kind of more of an ego thing where you have to remember again that you are not the only one struggling. There are other people who will always have it worse. And in a way, again, I don't want people to invalidate themselves with that, because it's easy to do that too, especially when you're not used to your problems being validated or acknowledged. It's more so just a thing to help you stay grateful and also to help you stay kind and aware even. I think it is very important to be aware of what other people go through in the world.
You have to blah blah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, and this is a tree right here. The tree of life is in your hands, people.
The next thing that I want to say is healing is infinite. I think that as I've gotten older, that is another big thing that I've learned, that you will always be healing from something. It never stops. Working on yourself, growing, evolving, healing, it never stops, because there's two different perspectives with it. One, evolution is infinite. We are constantly evolving, which means that we are constantly growing. Two, anything can happen in your life at any point. You could think that you did the work that you needed to do to heal, and then boom, something happens. Maybe somebody close to you passes away. Maybe you lose your dream job. Now you have to heal from that thing. So life is not a straight line. And I think sometimes when we think about healing, we think that all we have to do is go to one therapy session, or maybe a therapy session for a few months. We think that all we have to do is shadow work for a few months and then it's just gone. But that's not how it works. I remember so vividly, there was this time where I really did the work to understand myself and my trauma. And when I tell you, I am proud of myself, because I had to acknowledge a lot of things. I remember even I made a bullet point list of just all the ways that people hurt me, and I sent it to them. I literally made a bullet point list listing every time that a person hurt my feelings in some way throughout my life. Sent it to them, and we had a conversation about it, and it went well. And I was just learning a lot about myself during that time, and honestly, it was working for me. I felt clear-minded for once. I felt comfortable with myself. But it didn't last that long. I mean, it didn't last forever. The following year, I was super stressed again. And as I started to experience new experiences, new environments, new people, new situations, both good and bad, I went through this roller coaster of feeling like I was finding myself and losing myself. And so it made me realize that that's just how life is. You're gonna find yourself and then lose yourself, and then find a new version of yourself, and then lose that version of yourself, and then find a new version of yourself. That's just life. That's just how life works. And yeah, life really is a roller coaster, and that's okay. You really just have to sit back and let it do its thing. But I think what helps with that is when you have people around you, a good community, a good environment that is helping you stay sane. That goes into my next thing. It's great to be alone. I love that you care about self-care, that you care about loving yourself, loving your own company. That's amazing. But it's not a requirement to be alone. You're not required to be alone to love yourself. You can love yourself and others. I think that that's another thing that can go into toxic happiness. This idea of healing, this idea of becoming a better version of yourself. We feel that we have to do it alone, that we have to do it privately. We have to push people away. And that independence looks like being able to be alone and be okay with that. But there's a difference between enjoying your own company, being secure within yourself and your own company, and pushing people away as a defense mechanism, or because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. You feel like deep down inside, you're just meant to be alone, or you don't even allow yourself to build a community, build a relationship with people. And that's something that I learned, but I think I also still am learning, because I think on a mental level, when you've gone through certain things and when you experience certain negative thoughts, it's easy to feel like maybe I'm meant to be alone. No matter what you've experienced, the reality is that if you truly were alone, and I can't speak for everybody, because there might be someone out there who genuinely feels that they have nobody. And if that's the case, I truly pray that anyone watching this video finds their community of people But the reality for a lot of us is that yes, we may have went through certain experiences alone, but we've never just been alone. For a lot of us, there's always been somebody, even if it was a stranger. And I think that that's something we can't take advantage of, or that we can't take for granted. Don't take your friends for granted. I've seen people who will get on the internet talking about, I don't have friends, I don't need friends, and people like that honestly annoy me. I actually remember when I was in high school, I had a friend who made a post like that, and I was just like, forget me, I guess. I even remember somebody who I was close to said something like that, and it made me feel a type of way because it made me feel unacknowledged. It made me feel like they just didn't care about me. Sometimes it can be hard to find community or to find your person, your people, your tribe, and that's valid, but just know that they are out there. And sometimes all you have to do is explore, or sometimes even you just have to trust the process. But I just think it's really important that we don't confuse self-love for pushing people away. And I'll go more in depth into that later in this video. The other thing about that is, especially if you're creative, you need a community. It's not just about having close friends. We have so many experiences. I've had so many beautiful experiences talking to strangers and meeting new people, whether it's somebody I end up being close to or not. Please don't take that for granted. Human interaction, human to human interaction. I think that's so important, and it truly can be such a beautiful thing. But as an artist, you need support. And also, just as a human being, we need emotional, physical, mental, creative support. We need support towards our careers, our goals. However, dun dun dun, you are still your number one priority. You have to remember that nobody else is living this life but you. You are living your own life. You are creating your own story. And the world is so large. We can feel so tiny. We can feel so boxed in. But understand just how large the world is. Most of us have not even been out the country. Do you know how many countries there are? Most of us have not been to more than maybe 5 cities. Do you know how many cities there are? Do you know how many states there are? Just like the possibilities of who you can be and how you live your life, there's so many different things that you can do with yourself, to where you don't want to limit yourself simply because you're scared of losing people. And man, I think when it comes to traveling specifically, that's something that's been on my mind so heavy. It's scary. It's very scary thinking about expanding your life, because when you're used to being in the same place for majority of your life, it's so scary. But it's also, you have to think about it like, sometimes the scariest things are the best things that happen to us. Some things, the things we are scared of, are the things that lead us to the life we've always wanted to live. And you can't let anything get in the way, including people. And you can't live your life for other people. It's your life to live. Because honestly, a lot of people would not do the same for you. A lot of people are not going to stop themselves from living their best life because of you. Just keeping it real. So why would you do that for other people? And also, I wouldn't even want anybody to do that. I would never want somebody to turn down a beautiful opportunity to live their life just because they're scared of losing me. Because my love will always be there. And love has no distance. But that's getting into love. Your happiness should come first. And it's not to say that in a selfish way. It's more so in a way where you respect yourself. You need to respect yourself enough to always consider yourself. The same way that you want to treat other people. This is for my people pleasers, bro. The same way that you consider other people, you need to consider yourself. The same way you want to pour into other people, you need to pour into yourself. The same way that you love other people, you need to love yourself. You know what else goes into that? Take care of your health. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I could say, but y'all don't want to listen to me. Y'all just want to dance. Please take care of your health, and I need to listen to myself sometimes. Don't make me start rhyming, because you know I can go to my shelf and pull out my book, start rhyming like I'm Captain Hook, but I need a hook, and I make all these people want to look. They think that I'm cool, and now they're really shook. They didn't know that I came in like that, but now I did. Okay. I think I realized this the most when I'm sick, because when you're sick, bro, you genuinely don't want to do anything. Okay, how many times have you gotten a cold or gotten a fever and you're literally just in bed? You can't even go to work. Health in general, I think, is something that we can sometimes take for granted so easily, especially when you're privileged enough to not have to constantly worry about your health. Everybody does not have the privilege to not have to worry about going to the doctor 24/7, to not have to worry about how going outside simply will affect their health. Even outside of health, I hope that having this conversation just makes you realize how privileged you are. Sometimes we think that privilege looks like being rich. We think that privilege looks so specific when it doesn't. There's so many different ways that we are privileged as people. I feel privileged for simply being able to walk on my two legs, cook my own meals easily without having to do any special thing. Being able to wake up in the morning is a privilege. Being able to breathe the fresh air, being able to see all the colors in the world. It's so easy to compare ourselves and feel that other people are living a life better than us. I cannot speak for sick people, because I'm sure there's a lot of sick people who have so many different aspirations and things that they're ambitious about, just like anyone else. But I think that it needs to be understood just how when you're sick, you just want to be healthy. That's your main concern. You want to be healthy, because when you are not doing well, it affects everything. I don't want to say that ignorantly, because I don't want to make it seem as if you being sick just means that you have no power, no talent, no ability to live your life. That's not what I'm saying at all. I more so just want it to be understood what kind of impact sickness can have on you, and just overall what impact your health has on you. It's so interesting because there's so much I could say about this. There's a lot that goes into health, because one thing that I do also think about that's off topic, I think about just how many people are fearful of the medical world and how that might play a role in their health as well. We could really talk about the connection between health and racism. That's a really big thing. The way that Black people are treated in the medical field, the way that Black women are treated in the medical field, that is its own thing. And I think that that also serves a big impact, but that's a separate conversation. But it's something to just throw out there. Do some research on that. Because it's a long history when it comes to the connection between health and racism. But anyway, y'all, I'm a yapper. Sorry. Health goes into so many different potholes. It goes into finance, mental health, emotional health, your physical health. And physical health, that can be immune system, that can be literally your physical health, working out. It goes into sleep, it goes into food. And it's not to say that you can't be concerned about your health or take care of your health when you're young. It's just that obviously your body changes a lot as you get older. The longer that you are not taking care of your health, the bigger the impact will be. And honestly, y'all, one thing about me, I'm never gonna sit here act like I'm perfect, because if you know me, your girl lacks a lot of sleep. I need sleep. I really do. Sleep is honestly, it is an issue. It's something that's hard for me sometimes. Like, sleep honestly is something that I struggle with and have been struggling with for years. But this isn't about me. Y'all, already my back is like, I'm talking about health in my back. Guys, I need a massage. Oh my gosh. Ugh, if you're not stretching every day, look, I'm not even stretching every day, but you're supposed to. At least stretch often. I'm a dancer, so that's the thing. I feel like everybody should be moving their body somehow, whether you're a dancer, and plus I walked 40 minutes today, okay? So, you need to be walking, moving around, running, working out, stretching, yoga, dancing. Please just move your body somehow. Literally. Guys, if you saw something in my teeth, please ignore because I ate before I continued making this video. But to finish off this video, I want to say love is in everything and everyone. Allow yourself to love and be loved. That goes back into what I said about self-love does not look like you pushing people away. Allow yourself to be loved, allow yourself to be supported, allow yourself to have a community. But it's not even just about that. Love is such a misunderstood thing because it looks different for everyone. And everyone doesn't grow up experiencing healthy love, whether that's from family, friends, lovers, whatever it is. Everyone does not grow up being able to express their love, both towards other humans, but also even when it comes to the things you love to do, your career, your passion, your goals. The older I get and the more healthy relationships I form, I begin to realize how love, one, is infinite, but also love takes on so many different shapes. I think that love also looks like human interaction, two strangers having a beautiful interaction with each other. Again, I've had some beautiful moments with strangers, and I think that's what always reminds me to be happy. That's what always brings me back to this feeling of this is the point of life. Love. It really is. It's also really easy to feel unworthy of experiencing love because of flaws, because of trauma, because of all these expectations that people in the world and society creates about what it means to be worthy, what it means to be attractive, what it means to be someone worth loving. To me, I think that love is a feeling that impacts actions. I think naturally when we love people, we want to show up for them, we want to do nice things for them. We even want to lose ourselves for them sometimes, or we want to fight for them. But it's the same with when we love something, we want to do whatever it takes to achieve that thing. If you love drawing, you're gonna want to do whatever it takes to be an artist. Or it becomes a thing where you wake up every day and you want to make art. That is love. It's just such a beautiful thing, and it's so infinite. We love the sky, we love our mothers, it's so many things worth loving. Don't be afraid to say it to people. I get scared sometimes, not because it's really scary, but because everyone has a different perspective on it. And I think that a lot of people make it seem like this really personal. I don't know how to explain it. It's so weird. It's this feeling of, oh, am I going to be seen as doing too much? Am I going to be seen as like caring more? But it's really, that's what it is. It's about caring. And if you appreciate somebody, you should show that. No matter how many times I begin to feel negative, or I begin to doubt the people in my life and doubt who actually cares about me, I feel like I'm always reminded that people love me and that I'm loved, and I'm grateful for that. If you feel unlovable, you have to ask yourself why, and say it out loud, because when you say it out loud, I think that's when it may hit you that, wait a minute, why do I feel unworthy because of this? I hope that everybody who's watching this can experience love, whether it's from your family, your friends, yourself, lovers, animals, your art. I hope something loves you and that you love something or someone. And again, I'm still learning what it is, but I think that as I've stepped into my adulthood, my perspective on it has changed, because I used to think, even though I always understood that it came in different shapes or different forms, I think that I thought it was going to be this thing that was like, when it came to people specifically, I thought that it would be this thing where it's like, oh my gosh, the one, I'm in love. And I don't really, I mean, maybe that, like, it could be that, maybe for somebody out there, but I think the older I get, the more I realize how much it surrounds us. It's constantly around us. And the other thing about it is that it's not about what role they play in your life when it comes to people. It's about just being a human to human thing, a human to human relationship. It's about loving someone just as a person. So it doesn't matter what role or title they have in your life. When it's there, it's just there. I think that it looks different for everybody, but I don't think that love should hurt. Is that wrong to say? I'm still learning what it even is, right? Because it looks different for everyone. But I feel like so many people think it's supposed to hurt, or that that's a part of the process. I don't feel like it is. Okay, let me not say that, because it can be. Because for example, let's say you have a best friend that you love and they move away out the country and you never get to see them again. That hurts, right? That's different. I more so just mean that, again, when you're not used to healthy things, it's hard for you to know what is good and bad. I hope you guys have liked this. I don't even want to call it a series. What would you call it? I hope you guys enjoyed this video concept, and I had fun making this video. I hope that I changed someone's perspective, and I hope that I made your day with this video, and I hope that you come back to my next videos and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all of you, and again, I hope that everyone watching this video feels loved, it feels seen, it feels heard and validated, and I hope that everything works out for you. I feel so grateful right now and so optimistic right now. I don't know, I feel very proud and positive. Yes. Okay, bye.